The showdown between Republican J.D. Vance and Democrat Tim Ryan has turned out to be one of Ohio's most competitive statewide races. The contest has been a statistical dead heat for much of the campaign, but recent polling suggests the race is tipping in Vance's favor. Vance received the stamp of approval from former President Trump, who is traveling to Ohio tonight to campaign for him. So, for more on this race, let's bring in Philip Elliott. He covers national politics as Time Magazine's senior Washington correspondent. Thanks so much for joining us.
Of course, great to be with you guys.
So, as you know, former President Trump won Ohio by 8 points in 2020. How will this race test the strength of the former president's hold on his party?
You know, this is a great proxy test for the president, the former president. How much, I mean, he had a great footprint. He had a great, influence in the primary here. I mean, he basically single-handedly got to choose the nominee here. But the question is whether that sway in the primary translates to the general election. I was out in Ohio for the last week, and, there are a lot of people there in the state who love President Trump, but they're not really sure that he's the one that they want to run in 2024. And that's the question Republicans have to answer for themselves, whether they want him to be the top of the ticket. I will say there's a lot of influence that the president is wielding here. And it seems like the race is slipping from Democrats' hands in a really big way. But it is really, the national trends are blowing in Republicans' favor here. And that is a real big problem for Democrats.
That is so interesting. I mean, we could sort of have a conversation about Donald Trump's influence and whether we're at a very interesting point in his influence where he's influential now, but maybe like 8 months from now, all those Republicans that he helped to get elected, he might be needing some of their juice to
exactly.
propel
I mean,
him
there
forward.
were a lot of people I met with MAGA hats on who were saying they love the president. They love the former president, excuse me, but they really like Ron DeSantis, and they really want Ron DeSantis to be the standard bearer for the Republican Party. And that's you could see even in Northeast Ohio, which is, a deep blue corner of the state. I grew up there. There is a interest in Donald Trump, but there's also a curiosity for Ron DeSantis. And that is going to be you can see the tension playing out early on, and it's going to be the test case where we're looking ahead into 2024. And I just absolutely love seeing that drama play out early on.
Well, that's why that little nickname move did not land the way he thought it was going to land.
And yet we should, putting the cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart, I think that we should also acknowledge, though, that it often starts out like this. Trump will give nicknames to his opponents, but eventually they all come around.
That's true.
They all came around, and we don't know if the end game is that Ron DeSantis is Trump's running mate. That could also play out, right? We haven't heard.
All right. That's
what I'm saying. Mike Pence was also, very after the Access Hollywood tape came out, all Republicans denounced Donald Trump, and then they all, including Mike Pence, who ended up as his vice president, came around. So we'll have to see how it's all.
So listen, we don't want to talk too much about Trump, though. We do have to talk about the Democrat that's running in Ohio. All right, so we have Ryan. He's one of the
highest. He's raised so much money.
Yeah, he's raised a ton of money, but he's not getting as much support or overt support from national Democrats. What's going on there? I mean, you would think that they want to support a guy who can bring in the money.
Tim Ryan would be very happy if national Democrats didn't know his name. He is doing everything he can to run as his own man. I was with him Thursday night at Bowling Green State University, his alma mater, where he was, throwing a football with his kid. His wife was on hand. They were doing everything they could to be everything but a Biden-esque Democrat. I mean, Tim Ryan's a guy who challenged Speaker Nancy Pelosi for a leadership position. He is trying to make himself into his own man. I mean, you're on screen right now with the WKRP in Cincinnati t-shirt. He is trying to do everything he can to be an anti-Democrat Democrat. And it's absolutely fascinating to watch him try to play this out. There is, JD Vance is trying to run as a national Trumpist. And Tim Ryan is trying to run as an anti-party guy. And it's fascinating to watch the two of those play out because Tim Ryan does not need the National Party to help him win. JD Vance absolutely needs the National Party to help him win. And that is the dichotomy of this race. And I honestly, after spending a week in the state, I have no idea how this turns out. And that's why the Ohio Senate race is absolutely fascinating, because there is no way for anyone to know what's going on there. The local reporters on the ground, your CBS affiliates there on the ground, everyone is absolutely flabbergasted how this turns out. And that makes the Ohio Senate race one of the absolute races that I'm here for, because we have no idea how it's going to turn out. And that's what makes election night so exciting in America.
Phil Elliott, you sold me. You sold me on Ohio. It was already kind of interesting because I was one of the people that read Hillbilly Elegy. So I was like, wait, what happened to this guy?
Yeah.
But you sold me on this
and
race.
If Ohio's in play, I'll add this. If Ohio's in play, that means 5 more other races are in play. So you're going to get an early, because Ohio is actually a really good state for election returns. And if you can figure out what Ohio's election returns are going to turn out to be, you're going to be able to extrapolate a whole lot from Ohio. So watch those early returns. Also, it's an East Coast return date state. So for those of us who want to go to bed before 3 a.m., Ohio is where you want to be.
Phil, thank you so much. Great talking to you.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.